So, hello everyone, and welcome to Object-Oriented Programming. And this is an introductory lecture. So, what we're going to be looking at in this in this lecture, which I've divided into 5 videos, is first an introduction to the module and some textbooks, some examples that we'll be looking at through the course, and the organisation of the code. Then we'll look at the 3 examples in a bit more detail. So there's a home hub, which is like a Amazon Nest or something where you talk to it and it does things around your home. We're not going to have a full system. We're just going to have a simulation of that. A university app, which is basically basic messaging app for sending messages to groups of users in a university, and a pizza example. We'll start off with a very simple pizza example, which generates random pizzas, and then we'll move up to actually allowing the user to choose what they want. Okay, textbooks. If you're interested in a textbook for this course, you could try one of these. Python Crash Course is a good one. That's the main one I recommend, actually. I've been reading that. It's very detailed, very comprehensive. Or you could try Think Python, How to Think Like a Computer Scientist. And the advantage of that one is you can get a PDF of it downloadable for free from that link there. And the third one I also recommend is Concise Introduction to Programming in Python by Mark Johnson. All 3 of them are good. Actually, there's loads of books about object-oriented programming in Python. So if one of those doesn't suit you and you've got something else, use that. It's a good idea to have a book that will give you some extra examples, extra practice, and find one that you like the style of. Okay. In this course, I'm going to be using lots of examples, and we'll be developing examples along the way. So there's 3 in particular, 3 extended examples, which every week, every topic will get better and better as we build better and better versions. Sometimes that actually means the code gets simpler because we use new concepts to improve the examples. Sometimes it'll get longer, but that's not the aim. The aim is to make them better designed using the ideas behind object-oriented programming. So the first one, did I say Amazon Nest at the beginning? Maybe I did. Okay, so I've put together 2 things if I did. So a Home Hub is a simulation of something like Google Nest or Amazon Echo, but we're not going to build in the voice activation, so there's no voice recognition software in our examples. And there won't be any physical devices, so we won't be able to control anything. It's just showing how the kind of controller code might work. Then there's a Uni app, as I mentioned, a simulation of a basic university app for broadcasting messages to groups of users. But again, there's no actual messaging. It doesn't send messages. It will be able to select groups of users and decide what message to send and which group of users. And then a pizza example, a simulation of ordering pizzas. We start off with something simple, but eventually we'll get up to a full user interface that allows you to specify the pizza you want and even have a basket full of different types of pizza that you might want. So you might do a whole order for a pizza shop, but of course there aren't any actual pizzas, unfortunately. It's just it's just an example of an app that might be used in some sort of e-commerce setting, possibly on a mobile or on the web. Okay, and the initial versions don't even go that far. They just generate random pizzas. And what we're going to do initially is to start off with some examples that use familiar techniques from my other course, Programming Foundations, which you can find wherever you found this. There's links to it. So we'll use things like conditional, so if statements, functions, lists, loops, and we'll review them in this lecture as revision. If you're unfamiliar with them, you want to go back, then have a look at Programming Foundations, and it will give you more details about each of those things. But we'll start fairly basic. We'll start with those things, and we'll have a revision of them as we go along. Okay, the examples for the course. When you download the files, you'll find that each zip file contains a folder with each zip file contains several folders, And each folder consists of several Python files usually. Now, when you're trying to, so we've got, basically you'll have lots of different versions of the examples, and Python has only sort of fairly basic, what's called modularization possibilities. So if you've got two files named pizza.py, py, in two different folders, you're never quite certain which one is going to get used when you're trying to use a pizza file. So what I've done instead, to avoid any issues, they're all numbered. Okay, so all the examples are numbered. The numbers don't necessarily correspond to the topic. So today's topic is topic 1, introduction. The numbers in this example, in this lecture, do correspond, but that's not going to be the case over the whole course, because for some topics there may be several versions of the same pizza code. For example, pizza 3, pizza 4, pizza 5 might appear in one particular lecture. So they'll be numbered so you can, at least find the order, get them in the right order. But the reason is to avoid any of these issues of trying to import bits of code from somewhere else and not knowing which one you're getting. If you import pizza 02 as PZ at the top of the file, then it's unambiguous which one you're getting. It's telling you which file it's going to get the code from. And we're going to be using that quite a lot. So don't worry if you're not so familiar with importing stuff at the moment. We'll get to that as we get along with the course. But all this numbering has been done consistently. So the folder called pizza 03 has pizza 03.py and some other 03 files in it. So they're all consistent. But there is some duplication. So if I've built an example that's better than the previous example, I may have only changed one of the files. So some of the files in pizza 03 might be the same as pizza 02. I say some of the files. Most of these example folders will only have 2 or 3 files in them. It's just to demonstrate how you might break up the code as you would do in a real professional setting. Okay, so just to say finally then, each folder is completely self-contained. So the code in one folder doesn't use code from another folder. Everything in there is all you need for running that example. Okay, I'm going to finish this video here, and then we'll look at using PyCharm to run some of these things, and then we'll look at each example in detail.